connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Thanks for joining us on Good Morning Idaho. I'm Allie Tripke. We've got a lot to get to this morning from our large team of neighborhood reporters. From new laws taking effect in Idaho to community reactions to the devastating ambush on firefighters in Coeur d'Alene. First, our top story, though, with Brian Kohberger due in court today, expected to plead guilty. We're joined now by senior reporter who's up live in Moscow, Idaho. Good morning, Roland.
Yeah, good morning, Allie. And it's an hour earlier actually up here in Moscow, so we're trying to keep it down here. But we are at the King Road site where the murders happened back in 2022. And you know, as we've heard about this plea deal coming down, everybody has their opinions about it. There's no question about that. But the folks that we talked to in Moscow say they are ready to move on.
It has happened. You can't change it.
This peaceful enclave is where 4 U of I students were brutally murdered in 2022. The house where it happened is gone. A small memorial of teddy bears and candles is the only reminder. Those who live across the street are glad the case is over.
I don't want to have any more drama around the house and keep it subtle, because something that happened was terrible. I don't want to be reminded of that incident that happened again and again.
Some we talked to wish the trial went forward, but Dan Hansen says creating a site to mourn is not necessary.
Making memorials everywhere isn't really an efficient thing to do for the whole community. So yeah, build another apartment there and move on with life.
Now, the folks who have left items here at a makeshift memorial might disagree with that opinion. But either way, it's up to the University of Idaho, which now owns this property, what happens to it in the future. Reporting live from Moscow, Idaho, I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, Idaho News 6.
I'm downtown Boise neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker here at the Ada County Courthouse, where it has been a busy day. Behind me, you can see where the media is already setting up ahead of Wednesday's scheduled hearing. Now, the national interest in this case is clear. Many members of the media that I'm seeing are not with local media, and the press area here has been tightly gated off. I'm standing in the exact spot I stood in when I last spoke with the Gonzalez family. And at the time, they were committed to attending every single possible hearing in pursuit of justice for their daughter, Kaylee. Now, with an impending plea deal for Brian Kohberger, reactions from all 4 families are starting to emerge. Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonzalez. 4 lives lost in a gruesome murder that gripped the country. Now, as Brian Kohberger is expected to accept a plea deal, the families of the victims are responding. And for the first time since this news, we're also hearing from the Kohberger family. In a statement issued through legal counsel, the Kohbergers are asking for privacy, respect, and responsible judgment. They say they will not comment or take questions and are allowing the legal process to unfold with respect to all parties involved. The family of Ethan Chapin has publicly supported the plea deal, according to spokesperson Christina Teves. Karen and Scott Laramie, Madison Mogan's mother and stepfather, are waiting until after the hearing to speak publicly. Their attorney confirmed to me over the phone they won't speak beforehand. Relatives of Xana Kernodle could not be reached for comment, but the Gonzalez family is fiercely opposed. 18-year-old Aubrey Gonzalez, Kaylee's youngest sister, released a letter calling the plea deal, quote, shocking and cruel, and said the system has failed not just the victims, but the families who've carried their grief every day since. On Facebook, they've accused prosecutors of mishandling communication, saying a possible plea deal was casually discussed, but nothing prepared them for the formal deal. Their attorney tells me they've requested to delay this hearing in order to give the family time to get to Boise. As of right now, the hearing remains scheduled for Wednesday at 11 a.m. We'll be bringing you team coverage from the Ada County Courthouse as we await word on that plea deal from the Wednesday hearing. You can catch that hearing streaming live on idahonews6.com. I'm Riley Shoemaker, Idaho News 6.
Now, the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Good morning, everyone. If yesterday you stepped out and you thought it's hot, Well, that's because it was. Boise topped out at 102 yesterday afternoon. Again, we've been looking at a very hot start to the week, and we'll continue to see that heat build into the middle of today. So again, just another hot day ahead of us. We really have been bearing through this heat, especially together, because temperatures in the morning even starting in those lower 70s. So it's a very warm start for us. If you're in our mountains, looks to even be pretty warm up here too. 63 in Idaho City, 68 over in Pine, 52 waking up in Stanley. By the afternoon, temperatures don't look too much different from yesterday, but you will hover with those upper 90s between Caldwell to Mountain Home. I know it doesn't say 100 degrees on here, but still treat it that way, because that dry heat sneaks up on you pretty fast, especially if you've been spending a long period of time outdoors or you work outside. We will hit 101 into Ontario this afternoon and 102 in Glens Ferry. So again, it's going to be another hot day. On top of that, we do have a red flag warning in place. This is from the Baker City area down to Rome and extends over into the middle of Oregon. So if you're traveling into Oregon today, there's going to be an enhanced risk for wildfires there for this afternoon, and this extends all the way into midnight. Now, I'll be showing you where we'll see some relief by the weekend, but also how this relief will bring in those chances of storms for our Independence Day.
Now to that other terrible attack in northern Idaho. A community in mourning after a deadly ambush on firefighters outside Coeur d'Alene on Sunday. Supporters coming to show their respects at a procession Tuesday morning. As we've reported, Kootenai County Battalion Chief Frank Harwood and Coeur d'Alene Fire Department Battalion Chief John Morrison died in the attack. A third firefighter, Dave Tisdale, an engineer with the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, remains hospitalized. He's in critical but stable condition after several surgeries.
This community and firefighters, we all work together as one.
Well, it's a tight-knit community. They support their firefighters and police. They just love our public servants. We're all part of a family.
If you'd like to help the families, you're invited to do so, but be careful to avoid scams. The International Association of Firefighters has published official donation portals, each page verified, with all the money going directly to supporting the families of the victims in this challenging time.
Sunday's incident is just one example of the unknown dangers that firefighters rush into every day. I'm your Nampa neighborhood reporter Keith Burrell, and I sat down with President of the Idaho Fire Chiefs Association to learn how Sunday's ambush could influence how dispatches are handled in the future.
I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw us in.
They choose this job understanding the risks that are involved, and their families understand those risks. And one that's not ever expected or hasn't been, isn't in that forefront is actually being harmed by someone they're responding to protect.
Firefighters across the country are painfully aware of the high risks that come with their job. Sunday's ambush that took the lives of Battalion Chiefs Frank Harwood and John Morrison highlight the growing and unpredictable risks that firefighters face. Do you envision this being a national topic at some of your fire chiefs, even your Western Fire Chiefs associations?
I do. I think that this conversation, there's not many examples of this in history that were public. One that got this publicized brings some concern that, we're going to have some conversations.
Fire vehicles involved in Sunday's shooting are now in the possession of the FBI, taking them out of service for the community while investigators piece together the tragedy.
They've lost some command vehicles where people were harmed in, and to bring those back and service the community out of those will be very, very difficult.
Chief Carpenter tells me that the disbelief in the tragedy has kept many from having the conversation, but conversations inside departments are likely to happen.
I'm assuming myself that, we have to have some hard conversations about how we respond and how are we going to identify those emergencies that could be possibly dangerous to our firefighters and police above and beyond what they already are.
And memorials for both firefighters that were killed on Sunday are being planned for Coeur d'Alene. From Nampa, I'm your Nampa neighborhood reporter Keith Burrell for Idaho News 6.
If you'd like to help the families, you're invited to do so, but be careful to avoid scams. The International Association of Firefighters has published official donation portals, each page verified, with all the money going directly to supporting the families of the victims in this challenging time. Look for the link on idahonews6.com. A new law is cracking down on Boise's unhoused population. Senate Bill 1141 prohibits public camping in Idaho cities with more than 100,000 people. In our state, that's Boise, Meridian, and Nampa. It's now illegal to sleep in cars, tents, or other makeshift shelters on public grounds or in public roads or right-of-ways. Cities that fail to enforce the law could face stiff penalties from the state. As we've reported, the city of Boise says it will focus on education and implement a new $10 fee for violators. Learn more about the city's approach in downtown Boise. Neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker's full story on IdahoNews6.com. Trump's spending bill passed the Senate yesterday, but just barely. It now sits with the House as the president's deadline approaches. Details coming up. It's Wednesday morning, and we're taking a look at your national headlines. A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's attempt to end temporary protections for Haitian migrants. The judge ruled the Department of Homeland Security violated the law in its rush to strip deportation protections and work permits for more than 500,000 people. The judge said the Trump administration failed to follow the timeline and procedures mandated by Congress. CBS's parent company, Paramount Global, and President Donald Trump have reached a $16 million settlement over a lawsuit alleging election interference. The legal dispute stems from last October's 60-minute interview with then Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Trump claimed the segment was deliberately misedited on behalf of the Democratic campaign. Paramount says the settlement does not include a statement or apology or regrets. The media company adds that the $16 million will not go to Trump directly, instead will be allocated for Trump's future presidential library. Here in Idaho, the man accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death while they slept will appear in the Ada County Courthouse today. Brian Kohberger is expected to admit to the crimes as part of a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. Families of the victims have varying responses, ranging from outrage to relief that it could be over. In Idaho, judges may reject plea agreements, though such moves are rare. If the plea deal is accepted, Kohberger will spend the rest of his life in prison. And turning now to Trump's spending bill. After a nail-biter vote in the Senate, the House is taking up President Trump's tax and spending bill, where it's expected to face some opposition. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with more.
This morning, President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill faces a battle in the House.
Optimistic as always.
House Speaker Mike Johnson can only afford to lose 3 votes after the Senate worked through the night to pass it, with Vice President J.D. Vance casting the tie-breaking vote. Some Republicans voicing opposition to the bill's price tag, estimated to add $3.3 trillion to the debt over 10 years.
I am not inclined to vote for this bill, as based on my understanding coming out of the Senate.
And House Democrats united against it.
This dangerous and extreme Republican budget will result in Americans losing their lives.
The bill includes nearly $4 trillion in tax cuts, along with new funding for immigration enforcement and defense. It would also eliminate taxes on tips and overtime, and it imposes work requirements on Medicaid. A nonpartisan analysis claims nearly 12 million Americans could lose health insurance. But President Trump insists the Medicaid cuts only target waste, fraud, and abuse. ABC's Mary Bruce pressing the president on this claim.
Are you saying that the estimated 11.8 million people who could lose their health coverage, that is all waste, fraud, and abuse?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be a very much smaller number than that, and that number will be waste, fraud, and abuse.
What number is that? What analysis are you seeing?
I'm not seeing a number, but I know it's much less than the number you gave.
House Speaker Mike Johnson trying to keep his caucus in line.
They went a little further than many of us would have preferred. So a lot of work ahead, but that's the job, so we'll get done.
Overnight, a key House panel has voted to send President Trump's signature bill to the floor. The president says he wants the bill passed by July 4th, but he acknowledges that will be very hard. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
In South Boise, we're looking ahead at what may be in store for Idaho this fire season.
Sophia Cruz with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Good morning, everyone. Your time right now is 6:18, and thanks for starting another day with us. I hope you're off to a good start this week. If you've been heading out in our afternoons, it's been quite hot, and yes, I am not a fan of the triple digits either, and I'm sure you're not. Today, it's still going to be a pretty hot one for us, though you'll start to notice temperatures are slowly moving their way down, and when I say slowly, really slowly, we're still topping out near upper 90s today, and in Boise we'll hit 99. Now it's still near that triple digit mark, so still act as you would if it was another hot day where we saw 102 as we did yesterday. But the good news about this week is that we will eventually see some relief into our weekend. Near the coast, temperatures are already cooling down. 77 in Seattle this afternoon, Portland 79. Wouldn't it be so nice to have that a little bit closer to home? Now we won't necessarily get that cool, but we will see a couple of upper 80s return. What's really going to bring on today and this afternoon is those strong storms that we've been talking about throughout our morning, is this enhanced lift that we have coming in. So we have this weak shortwave system moving through the area, and as it does, it's bringing those cooler temperatures down near the coast, also some increasing clouds. But for us and closer to home, it's going to add into the list of ingredients we already have. Hot air near the surface, a little bit of moisture, it's not very much at that, but that is also going to trigger that lift that we need for thunderstorm development. Now across our area, we're already looking at some thunderstorms in northern Idaho, so not very much change into the Treasure or eastern, or even into eastern Oregon. This is what our map will pretty much look like today. Notice there's not very much moisture, but there is still thunderstorms. So what I want you to be concerned about today is that wildfire risk that we could see, gusty winds, and then also a few areas that where you could get a few showers come through. So we're going to walk through all this together so you know what's going on. Before today, we do look at that enhanced risk for severe weather from Treasure Valley into Baker City. This extends all the way over to our friends in Salmon. If you're in the Magic Valley, this is thunderstorms. Now, the reason we're looking at this enhanced risk for severe weather today is because that cooler system that's slowly making its way through and the hot air near the surface, there's a big contrast in those temperature differences. So that's going to aid in some mixing in our atmosphere, and that's why we're looking at that potential for some severe weather. But what you'll notice is that into our Wednesday afternoon, there's not very much change. Again, it's not very widespread that we're looking at, but if you do get caught in potentially one of those strong storms that could move in later tonight, and which is what I'm thinking, they're going to move in maybe a little bit closer to 8 or 9 o'clock. It could produce some strong downdrafts and really mostly cloud coverage, it looks like, for our Treasure Valley. But if you get caught in one of those areas of strong downdrafts, it could potentially be 16 miles per hour, which is very damaging winds. So to be safe, it's go ahead, secure any loose items outdoors, bring them on inside. As we head into our Thursday morning, a lot of that rain moves over to eastern Idaho, and then by Thursday afternoon, we see that same threat for some thunderstorms across the area. So as you get ready for the week ahead, just know that we are looking at some changes temperature-wise. It's going to mainly affect us on our Friday, mid-80s until July 4th, with a bit of rain and then 90s return into next week.
Get ready for another busy fire season here in Idaho as fire danger heats up across the state. I'm your South Boise neighborhood reporter Brady Caskey, and fire season is in full swing across the country. I'm here at the National Interagency Fire Center learning more about the above average fire conditions forecasted for this summer.
The outlook for Idaho isn't good. Generally above normal season is expected again this year across most of the state.
Jim Wallman is a fire meteorologist at NIFC. He and his team released their fire potential outlook for the entire country Tuesday from now until October.
What it's telling us right now is we're expecting to have an above normal season, so an active season, especially focused on the northwestern U.S. because of the warm and dry spring we've just had.
So far this season, Idaho has seen mostly quick burning brush fires, but summer thunderstorms on the way may mean more fires in our forests.
Right now, we're watching lightning because we're expecting lightning over the next few days. We don't think we're to that point where it's going to go gangbusters, but we're definitely going to have fires from this.
As you're out celebrating the holiday weekend, make sure to drown your campfires, keep your trailer chains from dragging, and be extra careful with fireworks. Reporting from NIFC, I'm Brady Caskey for Idaho News 6.
When we get back, it's Wellness Wednesday, where we're healthier together, and we're looking at news fatigue and what you can do to protect your peace of mind while staying informed.
Breaking news after the major U.S. strikes.
The saying goes, the news never sleeps. But with so much at our fingertips, it's easy to get fatigued.
News fatigue is defined as
a state of emotional and mental exhaustion, and it's caused by consuming or being exposed to a large amount of news, especially negative or distressing news.
Dr. Don Grant points to the rise of smartphones and the 24/7 news cycle as turning points. Now social media can deliver headline after headline with little context and sometimes from sources that lack credibility.
Since that time, just exponentially, it seems like every day, there are more and more platforms that are supplying us with the news, whether it's a legitimate news or it's not.
If you are feeling news fatigue, Dr. Grant says there are ways it can be managed without disconnecting from the world.
Limit your exposure. I really ask people, please do not check your news the second you wake up or right before you go to bed. Because what that could possibly do is if there's something unsettling, it is going to jar your entire day from the gate.
It's also okay to take a break.
Anything that is delivered through that device that's on a digital platform, it's there forever and currently being beamed out into space. It is never gone. You will miss nothing. You can always take a break.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
The year, it's 1905, and the infant city of Twin Falls, Idaho is looking to bring its new park a little bit of culture, and that's when the Twin Falls Municipal Band was formed. Now, 120 years later, that very same band is still playing in that very same park. I'm your Twin Falls neighborhood reporter, Joey Martin, catching a performance for myself and catching up with locals and visitors eager to support this continuing tradition of music in the park.
Having roots stretching back 120 years. The Twin Falls Municipal Band claims to be the longest-running municipal band west of the Mississippi River.
We've kind of heard rumors that there's one in the Midwest, but we've never been able to contact them, so we don't know. So until then, we say we think we are the longest-running municipal band west of the Mississippi.
William Cook is a regular at the park and tries to make it to as many shows as possible.
We've been in town for 15 years, and I've been coming for 15 years.
If you want to see the Twin Falls Municipal Band do their thing in the park, they will be performing every Thursday at 7:30 up until August 7th. And the best thing about it all, it's completely free to the public. Reporting in Twin Falls, I'm your neighborhood reporter, Joey Martin, Idaho News 6.
After the break, a look at the new state laws now in effect, including serious restrictions on public camping.
Now we'll look outside from the Treasure Valley Chevy Dealers Tower Cam.
Connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Welcome back to Good Morning Idaho. I'm Allie Tripke, and we still have many stories to get to you this morning from our large team of neighborhood reporters. And later on, we'll be joined by senior reporter Roland Barris, who's live in Moscow, Idaho, ahead of Brian Kohberger's surprise court hearing where he's expected to plead guilty on all charges. More on that coming up. But first, we're going to bring in Sophia Cruz for a look at our weather. Yesterday, we were over 100 degrees in Boise. Are we going to reach that hot temperature, triple digits again, Sophia?
No, but we will be hovering near them. So either way, it's going to feel like that, especially as you head out into this afternoon. And I know you're probably thinking, or you're wanting to cover your eyes because you just said it's going to be another hot day. Yes, it is going to be another hot day. Kicking off our morning, though, not too bad. You will notice those increasing clouds, and with that, it is still going to be pretty sunny out there. Temperatures are sitting right now, it's about 69. That's a very warm start for us, and as we dive into this afternoon, you'll notice that we will be looking at that chance for some dry thunderstorms to come across eastern Oregon. So they mainly produce lightning because we have been so hot. We are looking at that wildfire threat again today. Now there's a red flag warning already in place from Baker City down to Rome and extending all the way into Burns. This starts at noon and goes through midnight. So if you're traveling through that area, again, just a heads up because that is where we'll be looking at that wildfire threat. As far as what we look like right now on the radar, it's pretty quiet out there. There are some dry thunderstorms already moving through northern Idaho. So this is a lot of what our map will look like today as we head into really this afternoon. So do prepare for another hot day. But the good news is, Allie, as we head into July 4th, we will look at a little bit of relief with our temperatures, but it is going to come with some chances of storms.
Thanks so much, Sophia, for that weather update. Now to a heartbreaking story where a man died while floating the Boise River. This is what we know. Police say a man drowned while floating the river with his friends Monday evening, not far from the takeout at Ann Morrison Park. Authorities responded around 5:30 to the area near 9th and River Streets. A preliminary investigation suggests that the man's inner tube got caught on a tree, the current dragging him under the water. When police arrived, he had been pulled from the river, but efforts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful. It's a reminder of the dangers while floating the Boise River this summer. Boise police now investigating a deadly weekend shooting on the Boise bench as a homicide. The coroner identifying the victim as 23-year-old Christopher Holloway. Officials say they arrived just before midnight Sunday to the 2200 block of North Dalton Lane, where they found Holloway in a parking lot with a fatal gunshot wound. Life-saving measures failed. He died at the scene Monday morning. An investigation is now underway, and detectives say it's possible a suspect vehicle was seen leaving the area. If you have any information, including any private surveillance video or doorbell cameras, call police.
The so-called doomsday mom and convicted murderer, Lori Vallow Daybell, is making news again after her latest convictions in Arizona. Vallow Daybell gave a jail cell interview in Arizona to Nate Eaton from our news partners at East Idaho News, where she denied any wrongdoing in the deaths of her children JJ and Tylee, and denied any wrongdoing in the death of Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's ex-wife. Lori Vallow Daybell told Eaton her convictions are a whole case of untruths generated by a false narrative created by the prosecution and the media.
What's false about the narrative?
Oh my gosh, everything.
Your children were found dead in Chad's backyard. That's not wrong. Tylee was chopped up and burned. That's not wrong.
No, that's all mixed up. That wasn't.
I saw photos of JJ wrapped in plastic and duct tape. That wasn't wrong.
Okay, I understand what you're saying of those facts. Those facts in and of themselves are wrapped around a whole lot of untruth.
Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell have both been found guilty for the murder of her two children. Both were also convicted on charges in connection to Tammy Daybell's death. Chad is on Idaho's death row, and Lori was sentenced to 3 life sentences in Idaho. And yes, Lori Vallow Daybell has been found guilty in 2 murder conspiracy cases in Arizona. She was convicted of conspiring to kill Brandon Boudreaux, her niece's ex-husband, in 2019. This verdict comes after her previous conviction in April for conspiring to murder her estranged husband, Charles Vallow.
A new law is cracking down on Boise's unhoused population. Senate Bill 1141 prohibits public camping in Idaho cities with more than 100,000 people. In our state, that's Boise, Meridian, and Nampa. It's now illegal to sleep in cars, tents, or other makeshift shelters on public grounds or in public roads or right-of-ways. Cities that fail to enforce the law could face stiff penalties from the state. As we've reported, the city of Boise says it will focus on education and implement a new $10 fee for violators. Learn more about the city's approach in downtown Boise. Neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker's full story on IdahoNews6.com. State lawmakers also introducing a new $300 minimum fine for adults caught with marijuana. That's in addition to other penalties. Marijuana possession is legal in most surrounding states, but it's a misdemeanor in Idaho. The fine applies to first-time offenders in possession of 3 ounces or less.
For a whole lot of people, celebrating Independence Day involves making a whole lot of noise. But for those people's pets, a lot of noise is the opposite of a good time. I'm your Twin Falls neighborhood reporter Lorian Nettleton at the People for Pets Twin Falls Animal Shelter, where I'll be learning how the employees are getting ready for one of the busiest weeks of the year.
It's a crazy time.
The booms, the blasting, the cacophony of colors. It's enough to stir the spirits of any red-blooded American. And to a lot of animals, it sounds like the world is ending.
And I don't like to be Debbie Downer, but it's just, It's so scary for animals, even livestock and stuff.
People for Pets director Deborah Blackwood says the 4th of July holiday is usually the busiest time of the year for runaway pets.
I mean, there's been times that we've taken in 40 or 50 animals. It can be crazy.
As the celebratory neighborhood bombardments will increase through the holiday, now is a good time to start planning for your pet's safety, she says.
Keep them in. Close the windows and doors and garage doors and play music. It's a background, the white noise. Put the TV on. I like to play tunes in my garage for my shop kitty. A lot of things a person can do preemptively, and that is microchip your animal. That's just lovely when they come in and we can scan them, and there you are.
In most cases, animals that take off running in terror aren't thinking straight. They lose judgment around traffic and end up way off course. If you're unable to find your pet by Saturday the 5th, Blackwood says check with the shelter. The phone will be ringing off the hook, so either leave a message or stop by in person.
I just wish people could tuck them away, their animals, and keep them safe,
People for Pets holds a microchip clinic every Wednesday to help with the recovery of those lost animals. I'm your Twin Falls neighborhood reporter, Lori in Nettleton, Idaho News 6.
It's Wednesday, and we're taking a look at what's happening in your neighborhood today. In a surprise turn of events, the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students is due in court today to enter a guilty plea. The move spares Brian Kohberger from the death penalty, and the victims' families have varying reactions ranging from outrage to relief. That will be at 11 this morning, which you can tune into on air and on our website. The city of Nampa launching their 4th of July celebration a couple days early tonight with their official fireworks display. They expect it to start sometime between 10 and 10:15 at the Fort Idaho Center, and it's the city's only firework display. It's also a reminder to the community to plan ahead tonight and this weekend if you have any pets or family members who are sensitive to loud noises. And Alive After 5 is here today at the Grove Plaza in the heart of downtown Boise. Tonight's show will feature Yarn and Bread and Circus, that's the band's name, at 5 p.m., along with a diverse lineup of local and touring musicians. Again, that's at 5 to 8 tonight, and it is free to the community.
Everyone, it is 6:40. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris coming to you live from Moscow, Idaho. Later this morning, back in Boise, of course, we expect that Brian Kohberger will be accepting a plea deal in the murder case against him. Murders that took place in this property here up in Moscow. And there's all sorts of opinions about that court case and how it should go down. But there's one thing that I've talked to people here in Moscow about, and that is that they're ready to move forward.
It has happened. You can't change it.
This peaceful enclave is where 4 U of I students were brutally murdered in 2022. The house where it happened is gone. A small memorial of teddy bears and candles is the only reminder. Those who live across the street are glad the case is over.
I don't want to have any more drama around the house and keep it settled, because something that happened was terrible. I don't want to be reminded of that incident that happened again and again.
Some we talked to wish the trial went forward, but Dan Hansen says creating a site to mourn is not necessary.
Making memorials everywhere isn't really an efficient thing to do for the whole community. So yeah, build another apartment there and move on with life.
Now, the people that have left items here over the years at this makeshift memorial might disagree with that opinion, but either way, this property here, its future still in doubt, essentially, and really up to the University of Idaho, which now has ownership of that property. Reporting from Moscow, I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, Idaho News 6.
Sophia Cruz with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Rise and shine, everyone. Your time right now is 6:46, and I hope you're having a good morning so far. If you're getting that first cup of coffee ready, iced coffee today for sure is going to be your best friend, especially as things heat up throughout our afternoon. What we have going on right now is some increase in clouds from the southerly flow that we're getting, so it's going to be a bit of a cloudier start to our day for us and really near the coast. They're getting this short wave weak trough come through that's pushing in that cooler weather, and eventually we'll start to see some cooler patterns into the end of the week. But what it's going to do for us today is trigger the lift that we need for storms to form. So for this afternoon, if you're in the Magic Valley, you'll have the chance to see some thunderstorms. If you're in the Treasure Valley or anywhere in the West Central Mountains extending over into eastern Oregon near Burns or Rome, we have that low end risk for severe weather. Now that's the marginal risk, which is a 1 out of 5. But with this threat, we could see some very damaging winds. Now, the reason we're seeing severe weather today and the possibility of it is because we are so hot at the surface. So temperatures this afternoon sitting at 101 in Ontario, 99 in Boise, 102 in Glenns Ferry. So while some of us may not be reaching the triple digits, we're still hovering near that mark. If you're in our mountains, it's going to be a little bit cooler for our friends in Stanley, McCall. Still some 90s though from Fairfield and into Idaho City. But again, because that contrast that we're going to see as that cooler weather starts to move in, and because it's so hot near the surface, it's going to aid in producing strong thunderstorms. Now, if we get severe thunderstorms, it could produce a very strong downdraft where you could see gusts upwards towards 60 miles per hour. So that is very damaging wind. If you have anything outside your home that could potentially fly away or get loose, go ahead, bring that indoors. This wind outlook is where we saw that severe weather outlook. So it's pretty much the same. It's just brown and showing you where we could see those damaging winds upwards towards 60 miles per hour. Just to give you a good idea of what this looks like, it's very calm to start the day, so it's not going to be one of those breezy days all day. But as the system starts to move through, that's when we start to see these gusts approach near that 60-mile mark. 47 into Ontario tonight, 28 in Caldwell. Starts to pick up a bit in the Treasure Valley, and then as we head into Thursday morning, we do pick up a bit of a breeze heading out that morning. Now, overall, as we get ready for our really July 4th weekend, you'll notice that these systems are going to move through. That cold front comes in ahead of the next one. And by Friday, Saturday, and even into Sunday, we'll be looking at a bit of unsettled weather. So this will bring on some storm chances for our July 4th. But the good news about this is it cools our temperatures also into Friday. We'll get mid-80s into them. We'll just be watching for some storms. And by Saturday and Sunday, temperatures start to peak out again, and we start to see them return near those 90s and eventually into those triple digits by next week. So still prepare for another day of heat. I'm sitting right there with you. What we also need to prepare for are your roads. Let's go take a look at your morning commute.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
6:48 is your time. We're giving you a look of downtown where things are kicking off on this wonderful Wednesday morning. I hope you're having a good day. Now, taking a look outside, you've got I-84 Kuna and Meridian starting to pick up just a bit if you're heading in that eastbound lane. So heads up for my Meridian Kuna morning commuters. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet overall across the area. Just some really expected congestion on I-84 this morning as you approach 10 Mile, but overall, not too many changes impacting your roads just yet.
4th of July is almost here, which means soon these bad boys will be lighting up your neighborhood streets. I'm neighborhood reporter Alexander Huddleston, learning safety when it comes to using fireworks. I thought that was a lot bigger.
We recognize it's Independence Day. We certainly want everybody to have a good time, but we want everybody to be very safe when they're having fun.
With fireworks stands popping up all over the valley, Ada County emergency responders want folks to make sure they are buying safe and sane fireworks.
Illegal fireworks are illegal for a reason.
Boise Fire Chief Mark Niemeyer says they have noticed a large increase of illegal firework usage in the Treasure Valley. That increase is outweighing their ability to respond to each call.
If you're going to be shooting off illegal fireworks, we hope you're not. Do them as safely as possible. We know what's going to happen.
With firework bans in the foothills, emergency responders ask that folks keep their recreational use within their neighborhoods while still obeying city guidelines, and to be ready to extinguish their fireworks.
All right, if you make a mess, clean it up. Yep, cans full of water. That's the biggest thing you can do. Don't put them in a dry garbage can. Put them in something that has water in it and just let them soak overnight.
And once the little show is over, make sure you clean up and wash out. I'm your neighborhood reporter Alexander Huddleston for Idaho News 6.
This isn't what we should be doing. You don't deal with terrorists, and you don't deal with people who kill you kids in their sleep. So we'll never see this as justice.
An emotional response from the father of 21-year-old Kaylee Gonzalez, one of the 4 Idaho University students stabbed to death inside this off-campus house in 2022. This comes as the suspect charged with the killings, Brian Kohberger, is expected to enter a guilty plea 1 month before his quadruple murder trial was set to begin.
I'm not liking the fact that there's no guarantee here that this individual is going to share details. He's going to take complete ownership of what he did.
The deal involves Kohberger pleading guilty to 4 counts of murder, a move that skirts the death penalty.
In any death penalty case, the defense attorneys are going to be working toward getting death off the table always.
The plea deal may also bring an end to the years-long legal proceedings against him.
He would be waiving his right to appeal pursuant to a plea, so he would be giving that up.
The killings shook the small college town of Moscow, Idaho, as law enforcement spent weeks searching for the suspect.
Every time I see a headline about it, it comes right back.
The gruesome attack still haunts many there today, yet
Moscow's a strong community, and people here will help each other to heal in the long run, no matter what happens with the case.
In Boise, I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
Continuing our coverage on the Brian Kohberger murder charges, we are turning now to the Ada County Courthouse, where our downtown Boise neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker got some video this morning. This is taken just moments ago. People already lining up outside the courthouse ahead of the hearing at 11 a.m. today, which will be streaming on idahonews6.com. I know that Riley Shoemaker has been at several hearings for Kohberger and will continue to cover that this morning. I believe we also have a live look at the Ada County Courthouse now. More people showing up, 6:52 a.m. and we already have quite a line. We've got caution tape. Ada County Courthouse pulling out all their resources in order to be able to provide the best coverage there for media and the public. Of course, this story is of huge interest from the murder charges that happened there in Moscow, Idaho, 4 University of Idaho students. Again, we'll continue to cover this. We'll have more at our 11 a.m. newscast on Idaho News 6.
In this morning's GMA First Look, the battle of the brands. Lululemon accusing Costco of selling knockoff versions of a variety of the brand's most popular hoodies, jackets, and pants. The lawsuit alleging the wholesale giant has chosen to copy rather than compete and unlawfully traded upon Lululemon's reputation, goodwill, and sweat equity by selling unauthorized and unlicensed apparel. One of the items in question includes this Costco Danskin half-zip hoodie, shown in the lawsuit side by side with the Lululemon Scuba hoodie.
We're seeing a lot more dupe lawsuits as brands are noticing that people are seeking out dupes, that they are just as excited about dupes as they are about the original product.
Coming up at 7 a.m., we'll have much more on this clash of retail giants. With your GMA First Look, I'm Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, New York.
Now, the Out the Door forecast, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
Good morning, everyone. 6:56 is your time, and as you head out this morning, it is a warm start for us. Temperatures touching towards those 80s into 9 a.m. By the time we get into our afternoon, guys, we'll be sitting near that triple-digit mark again. Plenty of sunshine out there, but if you have really any outdoor plans today or you work outside, make sure you're hydrating, taking shade breaks, wearing tons of sunscreen. We'll also be looking at strong to severe weather possible this afternoon, so if you want to read more about the forecast, you can add on over to idahonews6.com. Otherwise, let's go get you ready for your morning commute.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
6:57 is now your time. We're giving you a look of downtown where things are starting to pick up. And if you're heading out on this Wednesday morning, it's pretty quiet overall. We haven't seen too much change, but just taking a little bit closer look at Karcher Road. This is where we're looking at a little bit of stop and go as you head into that westbound lane. For those of you traveling into that eastbound lane, it's only just about 15 minutes if you're trying to head on to I-84. But again, it is our Wednesday morning, so do anticipate I-84 getting a little bit busier as it always does. The good news about today, Allie, is that we are going to be looking at a nice cool start, and the mornings are the times to get everything done before it starts to heat up into the afternoon.
Thanks so much, Sophia. We'll continue to monitor the potential severe weather with the heat and the wind today. And we're also taking another live look at the Ada County Courthouse this morning ahead of the hearing for Brian Kohberger, the man accused of killing the 4 University of Idaho students, who is expected to plead guilty to all charges today at 11 a.m. We're going to have that streaming for you on idahonews6.com, and more updates from our team of reporters, including Riley Shoemaker at 11. You can see her there in line at the Ada County Courthouse. Thanks for joining us on Good Morning Idaho.